This video demonstrates how the add suppression variable can be used when animating assembly relationships. Suppression variables are applied to assembly relationships that change over time. In this demonstration, the card is moved from the upper fixed surface to the lower fixed surface using 3 different movements. A variable table motor increments the 3 different movements in a sequence. Only one relationship variable can be active at a time. The other 2 relationship variables are suppressed. Here we demonstrate how assembly relationships, assembly features, and the variable table entries govern the movement of the cart and the elevator. We start by defining how suppression variables work in the finished assembly. Then, we create the assembly relationships that are incremented to move the cart and the elevator. Next, we add suppression variables to each assembly relationship that is incremented so that we can activate only one at a time. Finally, we add a variable table motor that increments the relationships that move the cart and the elevator. Let's get started. In this example, the cart moves in 3 directions along 3 surfaces with each surface having a mate relationship. Some property text has been added that shows the current value of each suppression variable as they change. A value of 1 indicates that the variable is suppressed and therefore inactive. A value of 0 indicates that the variable is unsuppressed or active. Only one suppression variable can be unsuppressed at a time. The currently unsuppressed assembly relationship is green. To move the car to the center of the elevator, the first suppression variable is unsuppressed to enforce the mate relationship between the car and the upper surface. The variable motor moves the car along the surface until it is centered on the elevator. To attach the car to the elevator surface as it descends, the mate relationship with the upper surface is suppressed and the mate to the elevator surface is unsuppressed. The elevator's vertical travel is defined by incrementing the value of a plane or a line relationship. When the elevator reaches the lower surface, the mate relationship between the cart and the elevator is suppressed, and the mate between the cart and the lower surface is unsuppressed. The variable table motor value then moves the cart along the lower surface. Before we can apply suppression variables, we need to place assembly relationships. All 3 of the horizontal surfaces have mate relationships between the bottom face of the cart and the top face of the surfaces. Each mate relationship is created and then suppressed using the shortcut menu in the Assembly Pathfinder. The mate relationships are renamed to make working in the variable table easier. The goal is to move the cart along the upper surface to the elevator, move the elevator to the lower surface, and move the cart along the lower surface based on the position of the cart. For that to happen, we need a way to conditionally suppress and unsuppress the mate relationships based on the position of the cart. The variable table displays the mate relationships and some other relationships that were created when the assembly was built. To add suppression variables to the variable table, right-click each of the cart's mate relationships in the Assembly Pathfinder and click Add Suppression Variable. When suppression variables are added to the mate relationships in Assembly Pathfinder, they are added to the variable table. Notice the suppression variable values for the second and third mate relationships. A value of 1 represents a suppressed relationship and corresponds to the suppression state displayed in Assembly Pathfinder. The incremental distance traversed by the cart determines the suppression status for the 3 mate relationships. To account for this, we added a distance variable and set it to 0. With the distance variable defined, we were able to add the conditional formulas that determine the cart position, the elevator position, and the suppression status for each of the mate relationships. Creating formulas in the variable table is similar to doing the same in a spreadsheet application. For more information about using the variable table, please see Solid Edge Help. As the distance value increments past specific thresholds, the conditional formula associated with each suppression variable evaluates these changes. If conditions are satisfied, a change in suppression status for the respective mate relationship is triggered. Lastly, we will add a variable table motor to the assembly and have it drive the distance variable. In the Motors group in the Home tab, click Variable Table Motor. To make the distance variable drive the variable table motor, open the variable table from this dialog box and select the variable. With the distance variable selected, configure the speed and limit parameters. In this example, the speed is 100 cm per second. The limit value is defined by the total distance the car travels, which is 15,850 mm. The step direction is positive. When finished, click OK. The motor is now included in Pathfinder. Use the Simulate Motor command to simulate the motor in the animation timeline. You've reached the end of this video.